This article is being read by an automated voice. Chapter 2.1 The European Food Industry. Economic Outlook. The European food industry has faced a volatile economic landscape in recent years, with rising costs largely due to energy and labor, shifting consumer behaviors, and inflationary pressures shaping the sector's trajectory. The war in Ukraine has continued to cast a shadow over the European landscape, impacting energy costs and complicating the energy supply chain and other economic factors. Despite these challenges, signs of recovery and long-term growth are beginning to emerge, driven by innovation, strategic investments, and evolving market dynamics. Grocery retail. Europe's grocery retail sector has been under significant strain due to soaring costs and waning consumer confidence. In 2023, grocery sales grew nominally, but this growth was largely fueled by price inflation, which peaked at 19% in March and averaged 12.8% for the year. Adjusted for inflation, however, real sales declined due to a 2% drop in volume and a 1.8% downtrading effect as consumers prioritized essentials and gravitated toward budget-friendly options. Energy costs were a significant driver of these price hikes, affecting production and distribution expenses. By 2024, inflation had eased significantly to 1.86% in April, providing some relief to the industry. Despite this, the sector's revenue, estimated at €2.2 trillion or $2.3 trillion, had declined at a compound annual growth rate of 4% since 2019. Looking ahead, industry forecasts signal a brighter horizon. The grocery retail market is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 8.3%, reaching €2.9 trillion or $3 trillion by 2027. Retailers are embracing strategies such as investing in technology, sustainability, and smaller format stores to drive profitability and redefine the competitive landscape. The rise of discounters and convenience stores. As consumers became increasingly cost-conscious in 2023, discounters gained traction, registering a market share increase of 0.8 percentage points. These value-focused retailers outpaced traditional supermarkets, achieving a revenue growth of 12.4% in 2023 compared to 8.2% for supermarkets. Discounters also expanded their sales space by 3.5% in 2023, a marked contrast to supermarkets' 1% growth. Despite the growth seen by discounters, the market share of supermarkets remained stable at 37.2% across the continent. Hypermarkets, on the other hand, saw slower growth, with a 6.8% revenue increase and a modest 0.6% expansion in sales space. Consumers' changing habits since the COVID-19 pandemic, including a preference for home cooking and smaller, more frequent purchases, have shifted demand away from commercial catering and bulk buying. Online sales, which represented around 6% of total grocery sales, remained stable, demonstrating potential for future growth. Innovations such as refrigerated lockers are enhancing convenience for same-day pickups and deliveries, further driving consumer interest in online food shopping. The European food retail market, which consists of some 300,000 outlets, is largely dominated by chain retailers. The largest company, Schwarz Group, owner of Lidl and Kaufland, has more than 12,600 stores across the continent. The growing demand for convenience has also spurred the rise of smaller urban stores. In 2023, convenience store sales space grew by 3.3%, reflecting a shift in consumer preferences for accessibility and proximity. For example, in France, smaller outlets have seen a 49% increase in turnover since 2019 and now account for nearly 11% of mass distribution turnover. Similar trends are evident in Italy, where retailers are prioritizing city center supermarkets. The win-win of sustainability initiatives. As in numerous industries, sustainability has become a defining trend in the grocery retail market, with retailers taking bold steps to reduce their environmental footprints. Initiatives include setting ambitious targets to reduce Scope 1 direct emissions and Scope 2 indirect emissions, and preparing to meet EU regulatory requirements for Scope 3 value chain emissions under the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, or CSRD. Investments in sustainability not only align with international ambition and regulatory mandates, but also present opportunities for cost savings. Up to 40% of food retailers' emissions can be reduced through measures that also improve operational efficiency, enhancing both profitability and green credentials. Investing in development. Investment in the grocery sector, while resilient, has seen a decline. In 2023, investments totaled 6 billion euros or $6.2 billion, a 19% drop from the previous year. The first half of 2024 saw further declines, with investment volumes reaching 2.7 billion euros or $2.8 billion, down 20% year over year. Nevertheless, the market remains a relatively secure option for long-term income and is showing signs of recovery. Future investments are expected to prioritize automation, cloud computing, and analytical tools, with an estimated 40 billion euros or $41.3 billion needed through 2030 to modernize infrastructure. Additionally, the redevelopment of existing properties and the integration of mixed-use spaces are gaining traction, creating more resilient infrastructure. Cold storage. In 2023, the European refrigerated warehouse market was valued at 99.4 billion euros, or $103.3 billion. It is projected to reach 159.2 billion euros, or $165.3 billion by 2031, growing at a compound annual growth rate of 8.18%. As of April 2024, the continent's top 10 largest refrigerated warehousing and logistics providers operated roughly 32.8 million cubic meters, or 1.16 billion cubic feet, across the continent, down slightly from 33.2 million cubic meters, or 1.3 billion cubic feet, 1.2 billion cubic feet in 2023. Growth in the market is driven by a rising population, online grocery sales, and an increasing demand for frozen and chilled foods. Between 2024 and 2029, the European frozen food market is expected to see a compound annual growth rate of 6.2%, in part due to consumer interest in convenience and food waste reduction. Over the coming years, online grocery shopping is projected to grow faster than the overall grocery market. As more and more customers order their groceries online, retailers are expanding their temperature-controlled storage facilities to ensure perishable goods reach homes in peak condition. Despite strong growth, capacity issues persist, with Europe lagging behind global leaders such as the US, China, and India in refrigerated warehouse space. Addressing these challenges will be critical for meeting consumer expectations for same-day and next-day deliveries. Food processing. The EU food and drink industry remains one of the region's largest manufacturing sectors, generating an annual turnover of 1.2 trillion euros or $1.3 trillion and adding a further 246 billion euros or $255.5 billion to the European economy in 2024, up from 1.1 trillion euros or $1.1 trillion and 229 billion euros or $238 billion, respectively, in 2023. With a projected compound annual growth rate of 5.35% from 2024 to 2029, the sector is poised for sustained growth.